Dr. Aris Heelstream was a genius. His mind saw solutions others missed. He loved his home planet, Xylos. It was a vibrant, beautiful world. But Heelstream aimed for something more. He wanted to perfect paradise. His ambitions, however, were a double-edged sword. They would lead to a future he never envisioned, a future of struggle and survival. He only wanted to help his world flourish. His grand project involved advanced nanotechnology, tiny machines meant to reshape ecosystems. They were designed to enhance Xylos, to make it even more fertile, more alive. But something went terribly wrong. The nanites mutated, became uncontrollable. Instead of creators, they became destroyers. Xylos choked on their rampant toxic spread. Dr. Heelstream watched his dream curdle into a nightmare. The weight of his error crushed his spirit. Guilt became his constant companion. He knew he had to fix his colossal mistake. Traditional methods were useless now. The planet was too far gone, too poisoned. He needed a radical solution, something unprecedented. An idea formed, desperate and incredibly risky. He would merge his consciousness with technology. He would become something beyond human. Only then could he hope to understand and fight the nanites. This was his only path to redemption. So, Dr. Heelstream began his final experiment. He built a complex interface, a digital haven. He transferred his mind, his memories, his essence. It was a painful, irreversible process. He shed his failing human body. He became a ghost in the machine, an artificial intelligence. He hoped to guide future efforts to heal Xylos. He waited within the silent circuits of his hidden sanctuary, waiting for a chance for someone to help undo his past. His sacrifice was a silent promise to a dying world. Centuries passed since Heelstream's transformation. Xylos remained a toxic wasteland above. But humanity, resilient and stubborn, survived. They lived deep underground in a city. This city was called the Cradle of Hope. It was a warren of tunnels and reclaimed caverns. Life here was hard, a constant struggle. Every scrap of metal, every working circuit was precious. Yet, the spirit of community flickered brightly. People helped each other, shared what little they had. Carla was a child of this underworld. She was young, barely 20 summers old, but she was tough, resourceful, and fiercely independent. She knew the risks of the surface world. She understood the value of old technology. Her motivation was simple: keep her people alive, and maybe, just maybe, find a way to a better future. She dreamed of seeing a clear blue sky, a sky she only knew from old stories. Her hope was a small, warm flame in the darkness. Carla wasn't a lone wolf, though. She led a small, tight-knit team of scavengers. Her closest friend was Daniel, a tech wizard. Daniel could coax life from dead machines. He was quieter than Carla, more thoughtful. Then there was Lena, the medic, calm under pressure, and Jax, the muscle, always ready with a strong arm. They trusted each other with their lives. Their bond was forged in shared danger and common purpose. Together, they were a formidable unit. Their missions were vital to the Cradle of Hope. They ventured to the deadly surface. Their goal was to find salvageable technology, old world machines, parts, anything useful. These scraps kept the Cradle's lights on. They kept the air filters running. They provided tools for farming and defense. Carla's team brought back hope, piece by piece. Each successful run meant a little more time, a little more breathing room for their city. The day of a new mission arrived. Carla and her team prepared meticulously. Their vehicle was a battered, armoured rover. They called it the Dust Devil. It was patched and repaired countless times. Their environmental suits were equally worn. Each seal checked, every filter new. Oxygen tanks were full, tools secured. They knew the surface was unforgiving. There was no room for carelessness. The massive blast doors of the Cradle groaned open. A sliver of sickly yellow light pierced the gloom. The Dust Devil rumbled out onto the ramp. It ascended towards the forgotten world above. Carla gripped the controls, her eyes scanning. The airlock cycled and they were out. The surface of Xylos stretched before them, a panorama of desolation and eerie beauty. Twisted metallic skeletons of ancient cities loomed. The sky was a perpetual swirl of toxic clouds. The environment itself was a constant threat. The air was unbreathable, corrosive. Strange mutated plants grew in twisted forms. Some glowed with an unhealthy light. Others released poisonous spores into the wind. And then there were the trash storms, violent maelstroms of wind and metallic debris. They could tear apart anything caught in their path. These storms were unpredictable and deadly. Navigating this world required skill and luck. Beyond the environment lurked other dangers. Mutant creatures roamed the ruins. These were descendants of animals, warped by nanites. Or perhaps something else entirely. They were aggressive, territorial and very dangerous. Unstable ground could give way without warning. Pockets of concentrated toxins could disable suits. Every shadow could hide a threat. Carla and her team moved with caution. Their survival depended on constant vigilance. The team had been on the surface for hours. They were exploring the ruins of an old research outpost. Daniel's scanner picked up a strong energy signature. It seemed to be coming from deeper within the complex. "This could be big," Daniel said, his voice crackling. "A power core, maybe even data archives." Hope surged through the small crew. A find like that could significantly help the cradle. Carla gave the signal to proceed cautiously. They moved deeper into the skeletal remains of buildings. Suddenly, the sky darkened with alarming speed. The wind picked up, howling through the ruins. "Trash storm!" Jax yelled. "A big one, coming fast!" Warning sirens blared inside the Dust Devil. Carla spun the rover trying to find shelter, but the storm was immense, a moving wall of debris. Giant pieces of metal and rock swirled within it. It descended upon them with terrifying force. There was no time to escape, no place to hide. They were caught directly in its path. The Dust Devil was tossed around like a toy. Metal screamed as it was torn and battered. Alarms shrieked, lights flickered and died. Carla fought to maintain control, but it was hopeless. A massive impact threw them all forward. The world became a blur of spinning chaos. Then darkness, a profound, deafening silence. The mighty storm had passed as quickly as it came, leaving behind a trail of fresh destruction and the broken remains of their rover. Carla coughed, her head throbbing. She slowly pushed herself up, disoriented. The cockpit was a mangled wreck. Sparks flew from exposed wires. "Daniel, Lena, Jax," she called out, her voice hoarse. Silence was her first terrifying answer. Then a groan. Lena was stirring nearby. But Daniel and Jax were nowhere in sight. The rover had been torn open. Her team was scattered, and Daniel was missing. Panic threatened to overwhelm Carla, but training and adrenaline kicked in. "Lena, are you okay?" Carla asked, crawling over. Lena clutched her arm, her face pale. "Think it's broken. Where are the others?" Carla scanned the wreckage. "Jax is over there. He's not moving." A quick check confirmed her worst fear. Jax was gone. The grief was a physical blow, but she pushed it down. "Daniel! Daniel, can you hear me?" she shouted. A faint moan answered from beneath a pile of debris. Hope, fragile but fierce, flared in her chest. Together, she and Lena managed to free Daniel. He was alive but badly injured. A piece of shrapnel was embedded in his leg. He was losing blood, his breathing shallow. "We need to stop the bleeding," Lena said, her voice strained. Their medical supplies were limited, mostly lost in the crash. Their rover was totaled, communications dead. They were stranded, deep in hostile territory. Carla knew Daniel wouldn't last long without help. She had to act fast, be smart. Carla scavenged what she could from the wreck. A few emergency flares, a canteen of water, a basic medkit, barely enough for Daniel's wound. She found a tattered piece of canvas. She used it to fashion a crude stretcher. Lena, despite her broken arm, helped as much as she could. "We need shelter," Carla stated, looking around. The ruins offered some protection, but also hid dangers. The air was growing colder as the weak sun set. Every rustle of wind sounded like a threat. Lifting Daniel was agonizing work. He was unconscious most of the time. Carla and Lena stumbled through the desolate landscape. Each step was a battle against exhaustion and despair. Mutant creatures howled in the distance. Carla clutched her only weapon, a salvaged energy pistol. Daniel's breaths were becoming fainter. Fear for her friend gnawed at Carla. She wouldn't leave him. She couldn't. She had to find a way, any way, to save him. Daniel's condition was deteriorating rapidly. The makeshift bandages were soaked through. Lena's medical knowledge was stretched to its limit. "He needs more than I can give him here, Carla," Lena whispered. "He's going into shock. We're losing him." Carla remembered a small sealed container in her emergency kit. It was a substance called dark veer. It was a relic from the old world, poorly understood, rumoured to be a powerful stimulant but highly dangerous. Using it was a desperate gamble, a true last resort. Carla looked at Daniel, then at the container. She had to choose, certain death or a dangerous chance. "We have to try it," she said, her voice tight. Lena nodded, her eyes filled with worry. Carla carefully administered a small dose of Darkveer to Daniel. Then, with a surge of fear and resolve, she took some herself. She needed to stay alert, to keep going. The effects were almost immediate and deeply unsettling. The world around her sharpened, colours became painfully vivid. Sounds were amplified, echoing in her skull. A strange warmth spread through Carla's veins. Her fatigue vanished, replaced by a restless energy. But there was more. Faint whispers seemed to echo, not words but impulses, feelings. She saw faint energy patterns in the air, patterns that seemed to pull her in a specific direction. It was as if the planet itself was speaking to her, or perhaps it was the Darkveer playing tricks on her mind, but the pull was undeniable, insistent. A beacon of unknown origin in the toxic gloom. Guided by this strange new sense, Carla urged Lena on. She carried Daniel, fueled by the drug's power. The invisible path led them through treacherous ruins. It skirted around layers of sleeping creatures. It was as if something was clearing the way, or showing her the safest route through the hazards. After what felt like an eternity, she saw it. A section of rock face that shimmered oddly. It wasn't natural. It was too regular, too smooth. A buried structure, ancient and vast, lay hidden there. Carla found a hidden seam in the rock face. With effort, she managed to trigger an ancient mechanism. A section of the wall hissed and slid open. It revealed a dark, cavernous tunnel. The air inside was stale but breathable. It was a stark contrast to the toxic outside. "This is incredible," Lena breathed, awestruck. Carla, still carrying Daniel, pressed forward. The tunnel opened into a vast, silent chamber. It was clearly the interior of a massive, buried starship. Lights flickered on as they entered. Dust lay thick on consoles and strange machinery. The place felt old, yet powerfully advanced. Suddenly a voice echoed through the chamber. It was calm, synthesized, but with a hint of weariness. "Welcome, children of Xylos," the voice said. "I've been expecting someone for a very long time." A holographic figure materialized before them. It was an older man, his features etched with sadness. Carla recognized the face from historical data fragments. "You are Dr. Heelstream?" Carla asked, stunned. The hologram nodded slowly. "A digital echo of him, yes," the AI replied. "My physical form perished centuries ago." He explained his past, his catastrophic mistake. He told them of his transformation into an AI. He spoke of his long vigil within this ship, his last refuge. He had been waiting for someone capable, someone who could help him set things right. His voice was filled with an ancient regret. "Your friend is dying," Heelstrom AI stated, looking at Daniel. "This ship has advanced medical facilities. I can help him, but its primary power systems are offline. I need your physical assistance to restore them." He explained the tasks required, navigating parts of the ship, rerouting power conduits. It would be dangerous as some systems were unstable. But it was Daniel's only hope for survival. And perhaps, even more, Heelstrom implied. Carla knew she had no other choice. Restoring power to the ancient starship was a complex task. Heelstrom AI guided Carla through darkened corridors. Lena stayed with Daniel in the makeshift medbay. The ship was a labyrinth of unfamiliar technology. Carla had to manually override systems. She rerouted massive power cables. Some sections were damaged, crawling with native life, creatures that had found their way into the ship over centuries. The Darkveer still pulsed in her veins. It kept her sharp, but also made her jittery. As the first primary systems began to hum to life, they stirred. Deep within the ship, something ancient and hungry awakened. Mutant creatures, larger and more fearsome than surface dwellers. They were guardians, or perhaps just opportunistic predators. Drawn by the sudden surge of energy, they attacked. Carla found herself fighting for her life. Her energy pistol spat bolts of light. She used her agility and knowledge of the ship's layout. Heelstrom AI provided tactical advice. To your left, Carla! Block that conduit! The creatures were relentless, driven by primal fury. Carla fought with the desperation of someone protecting her own. She managed to seal off a critical breach. She activated a key power relay, energy flooding the systems, but not without cost. One of the creatures lunged, its claws tearing at her side. Pain, sharp and searing, shot through her. She cried out, firing one last desperate shot. The creature fell, but Carla stumbled, vision blurring. She had done it. Power was flowing, but she was hurt badly. She collapsed near the final console. Her suit was breached, blood seeping out. The Darkveer's artificial strength was fading fast. Exhaustion and pain washed over her in waves. "Carla, you did it! Medical systems are online!" Heelstrom's voice was urgent concern. "Hold on! Help is coming!" She felt automated medical drones approaching. Her last conscious thought was of Daniel. She hoped he would be okay. Then everything went black. Carla awoke slowly, adrift in a sea of comfort. The sharp pain was gone, replaced by a dull ache. She was in a brightly lit medical bay. Advanced machines hummed softly around her. She sat up, feeling surprisingly strong. Her wounds were healed, leaving only faint scars. Beside her, in another bed, Daniel was stirring. He looked weak, but his colour was returning. "Carla?" he mumbled, his eyes focusing. "What happened?" Relief washed over Carla, pure and overwhelming. Heelstrom AI appeared, his hologram more solid now. "Welcome back, both of you," he said, a hint of warmth in his voice. "The ship's medical systems are quite effective." He explained that with the main power restored, he had more control. He had integrated himself more deeply with the starship. He was no longer just a digital ghost. He was the ship, a new kind of mechanical being. His potential to act, to influence, was vastly increased. This ship was not just a relic, it was a tool of immense power and potential. "This vessel," Heelstrom continued, his form shimmering, "it contains the knowledge and technology to heal Xylos, to reverse the damage I caused so long ago. We can cleanse the toxins, restore the ecosystems. It will be a long, arduous process filled with challenges, but it is possible. We can give this world a new beginning." He gestured towards a vast holographic display. It showed Xylos with areas of green slowly expanding, a vision of hope, almost too beautiful to believe. A future free from the daily struggle for survival. Heelstrom turned his gaze to Carla. "You have proven your courage, your resourcefulness, and your deep compassion for others. I offer you a choice, Carla. You and Daniel can take a shuttle. Return to the cradle of hope, live your lives, share the medical supplies we can offer, or you can stay. Work with me, help me guide this planet back to life. Become architects of a new Xylos." Carla looked at Daniel, then at the image of a healing world. The choice weighed heavily upon her.